Hey folks, welcome to another exciting episode of Long Shots. Hey Sharad, how's it going, man?
It's going very well, and I think our recent trend is more towards co-working in real estate
Yeah, we are,
place.
we are becoming pseudo real estate experts, it
Yeah,
seems.
yeah,
But no, I'm happy. Like I think we had a fintech phase in between where we were covering a lot of fintech companies, a lot of I would say companies from the perspective of neo banking
yeah,
space,
yeah,
and we became pseudo neo banking experts for some time. So I'm happy that now our pseudo expertise is also expanding into different verticals.
yeah. And now it's all about co-working. So let's get it going today.
Yeah, so I'm very excited to have with us Amy, from country director of MQDC India, a Bangkok-based real estate developer. Obviously, it's a pleasure to have Amy with us, and it's even more interesting because MQDC has also launched an Indian venture in recent times, which goes by the name of Whizdom Club. It's a co-working space which also acts as an incubator and accelerator for young startups. So it's great to have her here so that we can, discuss real estate, shared work ecosystem, and I'm sure she has lots of things to comment on both in the context of India as well as the wider Southeast Asia region. Amy, welcome to the show.
Yeah, so thank you guys. That was a really good introduction. I'm thinking that this is the introduction part, right? Just now it was.
Yeah, like
Okay, so
how you sort of got into this industry and what do you do and what your background is. That would probably be a great starting point.
all right, sure. So as you guys just said, MQDC, we are a global property developer based out of Thailand. We've been doing this for almost 2 decades now. When we started, many years ago, we started off with condominiums, apartments for sale in Thailand, in Bangkok. And then over the years, we entered other asset classes, right? So over the past, I would say around 7 years, we've branched out into very bigger projects in Bangkok, mixed use, for
Right.
example. So a lot of the iconic projects that you see in Thailand, whether it's residential, hotels, retail, commercial, that all falls under our group in one form or another. So we have offices in China like several years ago, but we only entered Delhi about 2 years now
Mm-hmm.
with the first project, like you, Wisdom Club, in the heart of South Delhi in GK2.
Yeah.
So Wisdom Club, we position it as an inspiration hub.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason we do that is because we want people who come here to be inspired. And what better way to be inspired than having access to a whole lot of amenities under one roof?
Mm-hmm.
You can come into Wisdom Club and you'll see that we're not a regular co-working space. We have a beautiful cafe that's
Right.
also open to the public. It's called Wiz Cafe. We have event space. We have a recreational room, Wiz Kid. We have a beautiful terrace. We have a lot of open space, a lot of green space, and treated fresh air. And that's how we're very unique and well positioned to handle the COVID situation right now too, because of our focus on well-being for everyone. So
So
that would be the brief introduction I have.
yeah.
Yeah.
No, that's helpful. No, this model sort of is that something that you've tried it at home turf, for lack of another word, or why this model and why India? Like, is there something from a growth standpoint you see, or is it just like testing out the market? Like, what's the thought process about doing something like this in Delhi?
Okay. So to answer the first part, why Delhi? Why India? Basically, I think you guys all know the statistics, right? Booming population, young middle class, young workforce, and a great country. So that's the main reason we're here. We want to expand what we do to Thailand to other parts of the world.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the first one. Thing is why we position the Wisdom Club like this, right? So like I said, MQDC as a brand, we're heavily focused on well-being of the people, plants, animals, and planets.
Mm-hmm.
So the way we design our project, whether it's residential, whether it's ultra luxury or mid segment, we always focus on technology, materials, and space design or space utilization to give the comforts to all our users. So that's why we believe in spaciousness. We believe in eco-friendly products. We believe in giving fresh air.
Mm-hmm.
And this is for all the projects in Thailand as well.
Okay.
So that's the direction we have. And we want to be an inspiration hub because we also do something like this in Bangkok where,
Right.
we target students, young entrepreneurs, freelancers, and even SMEs to come use our space and benefit from the ecosystem that we provide.
And in the sense that co-working is as a model is something which has over the past 5 to 6 years picked up in the Indian context, and within that we have seen waves now. We have seen like the earliest co-working setups which were focusing exclusively on very young companies, startups, shared spaces. Then over time we kind of saw that there's a kind of a hybrid model evolved in which you had a bit of positioning for startups, a bit of it was managed offices for bigger companies with longer lease arrangements. Also in terms of the from an asset perspective, there has been very different approaches, right? Some people like to basically just do a rev share with the counterparty who owns the asset. Some people get into long-term obligations, and some people like to actually own and operate the assets from bottom up. How do you view co-working in Bangkok in general and in Indian markets in particular?
I think you're totally right. Right on about how the co-working model or the flexible space has evolved over time. Obviously around the world, it started off with targeting freelancers and startups and those individuals and smaller companies. But over time, it changed for a variety of reasons. And even the Whizdom Club model in Thailand and in India, it's not exactly the same, but it has the same end goal and it has the same vision, which is to inspire and to support everyone in the ecosystem. But with that said, I think the beauty of doing Whizdom Club in India is that Whizdom Club in India is a very new brand. So it allows us to adapt to the needs of the society, the community, or economy at that point in time. So what we're doing in GK2 is one format, but we don't have to replicate exactly the same to the other locations, right? But what we can cater to each market is in GK2, it's more like a hybrid. If you go there, you'll see that 50% is closed space and 50% is open space.
Right.
And when I say open space, it's like atrium, hot desk, open dedicated desk, cafe, for example. And the rest is, private cabins and event space and meeting rooms, recreational rooms. But in other locations that we plan to expand, it depends on the catchment. So we might be more like catering to enterprises, for example, in the future. We might be catering more to smaller SMEs in the future, right? For their different reasons. So with that said, I don't think there's a perfect model in every point in time. I think as a brand and as the business model that we have to evolve and we have to adjust. And that's the fun part, I think.
Yeah, no, it's fascinating. And how's your experience sort of trying to get into the Indian market been? Was it sort of from a logistics standpoint and a regulatory standpoint, legal standpoint? How's that journey been? Like, was it fairly seamless, or did you have had to find ways to navigate the system here?
That's an interesting question that I get a lot, both from India and from Thailand. So I started my Indian journey for the group in late 2017, and then we opened Whizdom Club in mid 2019. I have to say that India is a very huge country with many diversity, as you know, and there's a lot of regulations, a lot of networking, a lot of synergy I had to build internally in India to get things done, so even though we have the expertise in Thailand, but we believe in localizing as well. We believe in understanding the lifestyles, the pain points, the needs, or the missing components of whatever we're trying to enter to. Yeah. So we see what others are doing. We see some of the gaps. We listen to the consumers a lot. Consumers being like SMEs, startups, enterprises, and we try to tailor-made to each group as much as we can. Yeah. But, doing business, as you know, is never easy, right? There's always problems to solve. And of course, there's some challenges, but I've been lucky that I've had a lot of good partners who's in this industry for a long time.
Yeah.
And I also have created and built a very nice team who's very capable. And without them, I wouldn't be able to execute what I have, because the main execution team are the local team.
And like you mentioned consumer experience, and you mentioned that you obviously looked at the template that you have in Thailand and then you localized it, you tailor it to the requirements here. When it came to consumer experiences within a shared work space paradigm in India, anything that caught you by surprise that, oh, okay, here consumers have a completely different view on something versus what you have seen before?
I think the overall buckets remain the same. People
Right.
want convenience, want comfort, people want speediness,
Right.
a good seamless experience. It goes everywhere. A little bit of difference is the Whizdom Club that we have in Thailand, are targeting more of the students,
Right.
right? The students, which have different capacity to pay. They have different short-term goals compared to the Whizdom Club that we're trying to build. But this is a matter of business model. So we're more targeted at the working professionals in India in terms of product offerings, in terms of the webinars on ground and online. We target more of the startup community in India than in Thailand.
Right.
Because we feel that there's such a bigger segment for this in India than in Thailand. But in Thailand, it's happening too. But, we're a much smaller country, so it takes a little bit more time.
Right. And so what's the, if we were to ask you, what's the future plan here? Is it to kind of, you have picked one,
Sorry?
how does the future look like for, Whizdom and for the broader company within India, in the sense that you have obviously picked up a very specific asset class. So the idea is to now kind of go deeper into it and expand, go to multiple cities, or also kind of to look at things in a more horizontal manner, that, okay, we are looking at co-working, we should look at commercial real estate in a big way. What's the thinking like in terms of viewing India as a market opportunity?
So as a group, we are very forward thinking. We have many research center and future foresight trends analysis center. We have a 40-year plan. So we have it all laid out, what we want to do in India and other parts of the world. It's a matter of speed, depending on the situation at hand, right? So as a group, we have a philosophy where we really want to understand the culture, the values, the lifestyle, the needs of the local people. We don't believe in just bringing our product and just, deploying it in India, right? It's not going to work like that. So with that said, that's why we take our time in understanding the needs, whether it's the Whizdom Club and other research or market studies that we do in parallel. So obviously the first asset class that we entered into is the flexible space or the shared co-working space. We plan to expand more. The first step would be in Delhi NCR, obviously, because we're there already, right? Maybe in Gurgaon, in Delhi, and perhaps in Noida. This is something we're still evaluating. We've been evaluating since last year, before COVID, but then, things have to be tweaked
Right.
a little bit. So that's the first part. The second thing is in other asset classes, most definitely, because in Thailand, we are a property developer, right? With club and lounge formats as well. So, but, doing property development in any new country is also not easy. So we are doing market studies to understand need gap assessment, opportunity assessment, to see what we can bring to the Indian community to add value to them. It's not going to be a quick and easy one like setting up the co-working space. It takes a lot of understanding more laws and regulations by region, by city.
Interesting when you said that you obviously narrowed down on a particular asset class, and the idea would be to expand more in NCR first and then maybe outside it. There are lots of local incumbents here as well, right? There are lots of domestic companies who are doing who are operating in a similar space. Only I think last week we spoke with Amit Ramani, who heads Office. So that's another well-known brand in Delhi. So there is always that core differentiation play that kind of becomes a major factor. Number one. Secondly, it's also about from the perspective of COVID now, the dynamic has changed, and some very basic questions are being asked about workplace in general. Like, for instance, we also spoke with Manoj Kalra. He's from Royal DSM. He looks at their global business support, which is it's like a Dutch multinational company, and he was saying that look, big MNCs are all now moving towards a hybrid workplace model where we'll probably have smaller satellite offices in smaller cities. Otherwise, there's no obligation for people to come into work in the office. Work from home is going to be like a norm. So from that perspective, there's obviously that macro, I would say, headwind because of COVID on the overall ecosystem. And in addition to that, it's a fairly competitive market, like even within India. And obviously penetration is one issue. Like, I'm not saying that it's a very well penetrated market. There's a big requirement for good quality office spaces in the country, but a lot of people are doing it.
Yeah, so I'm with you there. There's a lot of competition. It's competitive. COVID's changing the office landscape. I don't think there's any industry or any product where there's no competition, right? But I think each one of us bring different things to the table and serving similar and some different target groups. We're here to enter the Indian market to see what are the available missing gaps, and opportunities that we can do to meet the needs of certain groups of people. So you'll see that, when we come in, we try to offer, to be like a one-stop shop.
Right.
We try to offer amenities. We recently got an award for that, for the co-working with the most amenities, trying to fulfill the people under one roof. And with regards to COVID, I think it's a little bit too soon to say whether, the shared office space is going to work out or not work out, or work out how well. But I definitely think that, flexible office is still here to stay, because at the end of the day, no one can really stay home the whole time. Once COVID, stabilizes and clears out, I don't think anyone can, stay at home all the time. As humans, we enjoy going out, and we enjoy meeting people, and we enjoy learning and experiencing the outdoors and the things that gives us more motivation, right? And sometimes there's more hassles at home. So with that said, but it just takes time. It just takes time and a little bit of patience and, biting the bullet a little bit until the COVID plans out.
Yeah.
That's what I think.
In sort of the workspace, shared space ecosystem, there are, like, Nikhil was sort of alluding to, there's so many models of from straight lease to, different structuring lease payments differently and operator. But there's another, model that sort of, I wouldn't say picking up, but there are guys who are toying with the idea of equity for leasing the space, right? Like, and, you sort of look at it from an inspiration and an incubator mindset. So it naturally sort of suggests that, another thing people really look for is equity capital. Is that something that you guys think about either in Thailand or here? I mean, Thailand, you work with younger folks in terms of college students, and is that an equity contribution, taking a piece of the business sort of, do you see any merit in that kind of a model?
I think we're flexible, like I said, in all the business model that we do. And we actually, in India and in Thailand and everywhere, we welcome all partners who shares the same vision as us. However, with that said, even with the situation going on, we still feel that there's an opportunity for us to grow the co-working space in India. It just takes a little bit more thoroughness and creativity to meet the needs of the end users. Yeah. That's what we think.
Is this
in Thailand? A lot of the club. Yeah, sorry.
No, sorry. Finish your thought.
I was just going to say that in Thailand we have many formats because we have a lot of projects that are already up and running in Thailand, right, in Bangkok. So our Whizdom lounge formats are in our property, in our malls, in our office, in our commercials. So there's some kinds of synergies that happen in those places as well.
Yeah. So in terms of international presence, like other than, I know you alluded to China and now India, where other do you think you guys have which other countries are you placed in?
We are in China, so we have trading. We have a real estate company set up in China, in Shanghai, for a few years now. The trading business opened over a decade or two ago in Delhi, and then we have an office in the UK.
Okay.
I just have to say that each country we operate differently.
Sure. Yeah.
With different visions, right? So we have offices in the UK because just 1 or 2 years ago we have an investment team where we invested in a portfolio of almost 20 hotels across the UK. So we have offices set up there, and we're about to set up an office in Tokyo, Japan as well.
Right.
Of course, in India. And there's other emerging markets we're exploring, but that's still in the early stages.
And what's your kind of view on the economics of co-working, in the sense that it's a very volume-driven game at the end of the day, right? It's per person per month, the square footage, like all those metrics are very closely locked into the overall economics, right?
Yeah.
And obviously, with the developments of the last couple of quarters, suddenly social distancing means that the typical calculations one would do in terms of how to even look at the layout of a particular office space, those equations have changed, right, in terms of how much capacity. So obviously I'm guessing like whatever square footage you guys might have in terms of effective utilization, it would have been hit, correct, in one way or the other, and that hit on utilization doesn't really translate into a requisite premium of pricing, right? I mean, it doesn't happen, but on the other end, I'm guessing like as an operator in this space during COVID times, you also had to provide some additional amenities, right? I mean, for instance, you might be looking at air filtration more closely, or you might be looking at temperature control for people who are coming in. So those are additional overheads that you have to incur, which you may or may not pass on to the end user. So how are you kind of viewing that entire economics being disrupted? Are they really disrupted, or you see that a lot of the guys who for some time stopped coming, they came back? So from the perspective of utilization, you're not very concerned. How has it been?
So I think as a group, we see that COVID is a sad thing, but it's a temporary thing. So of course, with this temporary mishappening, we had to make some sudden changes. We haven't passed on any costs to our members. This is I'm talking about India here.
Right.
We haven't passed on any costs, but obviously first and foremost, we ensure the safety of everyone. That's for my teams, for my business partners, and for the members, right? So we have all the protocols in place, temperature checking, sanitization, mask, social distancing, all the posters inside, outside. We have all that. But like I said in the beginning, we've been very fortunate where the main philosophy of our group, which is well-being,
fits in well with this,
it
right?
came into play. Yeah, it came into play since we designed the space, since we took up the space. We took up a space with a lot of natural lighting. We designed the space. There's no carpets. In India, you'll see a lot of carpets everywhere, right? It's easy. It's nice and it's comfortable too. But in our space, there's no carpets at all. It has to be maintained, right? So, and we don't use marble. We don't use wood. We don't use cramped up spaces for whatever reasons. There's good and bad and everything. But we designed the space to give people comfort and spaciousness. So you'll see that, I'm not sure about other co-working spaces, but the average size per person in our club is roughly 80 to 100 square feet per person, which is quite big for a co-working space, even a premium one.
Right.
So with that said, we didn't have to adjust a lot. We have a TFA system since the very beginning, which helped filter out, bad quality air, pollution, PM 2.5. Every time you come in, it's very clean.
Right.
And we had this since the very beginning, and we communicated this to all our members, partners, and everything. So it's helped us gain the confidence of our members, partners, prospect customers as well. So we've been disrupted by COVID, but there's still some upside to the way we position the club early on.
Right. I'm gonna now. We have talked about a lot of, I would say, negative, cynical, grim realities of the world, but I want to kind of have some optimism also in the conversation. What was a positive experience of setting up business here, if any?
My own personal experience, right? I really enjoyed the experience. I think it's opened a lot of cultural exposure, business exposure to me. Obviously, even though we do many projects in Thailand, and I've done the majority of my works in Thailand,
Right.
There's always room to learn. I'm very impressed by how the locals work. for example, the speed of my team, the speed of my consultants, my business partners, my customers, the speed that you guys respond, the speed that you guys deliver work, and the accuracy and the depth of analysis and suggestions on way forward and, analytical stuff. That's all that, like I said, it's the team, both internal and external, who's really helped me get to where I am today. So that's the first learning and the first very nice, positive environment, that I really like. And that's something that I think it saves time and it saves effort. And at the end of the day, it's a positive learning experience.
Did you face...
Other than that, I think on the environmental, cultural learning, the food, the culture, the way, everything. It's like you go to any other country. Yeah.
Obviously you have been fortunate to have a good team. How was hiring for you? Was it how was finding talent? How easy or hard was it for you in terms of building it up?
So we still have a fairly small team. Yeah. I wouldn't say like we're super big yet. We're growing steadily. When I first started, I started one person, right? But luckily, we also have a sister company here, which is called, in Thailand, we're called the CP Group. In here, we have CP Wholesale and many other CPs. So they're family related, sister related. So in the beginning, they helped me get to know the right consultants, take me around, see this, see that, familiarize myself to the catchment of Delhi NCR.
Right.
And with that said, because of that connection, I was routed to good consultants who helped me spread the word and recruit the right talent.
No, that's interesting, because we run a business together as well, we run an advisory business as well. And one of the things, from previous examples and looking at other companies is when you get into a new turf, right? You lose your home turf advantage and you're getting into a new country where there are, you're competing against guys who already have relationships. So it's always a interesting but challenging exercise. So that's pretty interesting to hear. Out of the whole of India, there are other pockets which are sort of, which on paper boast to be more friendlier or more pro-business, who even can claim for a lower age demographic, more geared towards the engineering and side of schools with, those student community setups. So why Delhi? Delhi is sort of, usually not the preferred market for something like this. People usually choose I'll just name cities which I don't know if you're familiar with, like a Hyderabad or a Bangalore or, there are other student towns. Delhi is a bit of a surprise. It's affluent, but it's sort of not been thought about like that. So, that's a little bit of a outlier here. So how did you end up here in NCR?
Yeah. So when I told you that one of the target groups are students, but I wouldn't say that that's the main target group.
Yeah.
Okay, that might be for Thailand. In India, I want to help out, lend a hand to the students, or young talents. But most of my customers right now are SMEs, some multinationals,
right,
startups. I wouldn't say that students are the main target group, but we do target them through webinars, through incubation, through other activities that we have to support them indirectly. And why Delhi? I think Delhi NCR, being composed of the three main cities, right? It provides the volume and the number of opportunities for us to expand rather than focusing on just one city on its own. But this is more like, Gurgaon, Delhi, and Noida that provides the opportunity altogether.
Yeah,
and it's a growing volume of startup.
No, that's pretty interesting, and this is a space that we've Nikhil and I now claim to have expertise. I'm just kidding, but just because we speak to folks much like yourself, and we have been for the last couple of times, and it's interesting, right? People always look at the Indian real estate sector from a people often say the rental yields are one of the lowest, and it just doesn't check off. People have different views on Indian real estate, but co-working is something that's rapidly picking up as well. And we're rooting for you, and we'll hopefully check out once things ease. We'll probably run down to GK2.
We'll go to the cafe.
We'll go to the cafe, and we'll remember you.
Thank you, guys.
We'll check it out. Now, good luck.
You guys must take a visit once. once it's safe, you guys must give us a visit.
Yeah, no, we will, and no, it was a fun chat, and good luck with the venture. I mean, we'll obviously keep in touch and keep looking at it. It's an exciting space. It's a exciting time to be in India as well to do business, and we're seeing that from different industries who are sort of eyeing this market for different reasons. But it was great chatting with you. So thank you for taking the time out. It was good to hear, someone from the neighboring countries, if not immediate neighbors, but from within Southeast Asia who are looking at Indian markets and trying to enter here. So that's always good to hear.
Thank you so much, guys. And it's been really fun, working on India. It's been very fun getting to meet all these new people like yourselves as well. And still learning every day. It's not a piece of cake, but it's a good learning and it's good experience. Thanks for having me.
Oh, perfect. With that, I think we'll be back soon. What do you say, Sharad?
Yeah, I'm looking forward.
Great. So this is Nikhil Arora
This is Sharad Tupran.
signing off.